Hey everyone, welcome to Business Unchained, where entrepreneurs and business owners come together to power up on their journey to greatness.
Bobby Masha is the founder and CEO of Greenridge Wealth Planning. All opinions expressed by Bobby and his guests are solely their own and do not reflect the opinion of Greenridge Wealth Planning. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon for any financial decisions. Clients of Greenridge Wealth Planning may maintain positions in any securities discussed in this podcast.
All right, so episode 8, we live?
Sweet.
This guy built a business from one-man team to 5 offices in New Jersey and 2 in New York. He not only opens businesses that are related to his current business, but he also looks for ways to expand by adding totally unrelated businesses that end up just kind of relating to the other one. He is a work hard, play hard type of guy. I totally admire this guy. He went heli skiing 10,000 feet above sea level, and in the same week, jumped on a plane and went snorkeling 158 feet deep in Belize.
Scuba.
Yeah, scuba. My man, the myth, the legend, Michael Carella.
Thank you,
welcome.
Bobby. Thank you, Bobby. Now that's an introduction. Well, you said everything. I'm good. Time to go.
Time to go. So, Mikey, the one thing that, the couple things I want to hit today, I want to talk a little bit about work ethic. You and I have a running joke about people and their ways. We are very much people with opinions. I want to talk a little bit about that. I want to talk about how you created your self-managed businesses. You're able to connect multiple businesses. You're able to run multiple businesses. And I want to talk a little bit about the powers and superpowers that you have to get that done. And then some of the biggest kind of things that keep you up at night. This show is really around, listen, you and I joke all the time.
All the time.
Everyone sees the nice vacations, the cars, the lifestyle, and they don't know what the hell we went through to get there. And this show is about what the hell did we go through to get there, right? The successes are easy to see. It's the failures that are underneath that are more damaging than the successes are fruitful sometimes. So,
Agreed. It's like that meme, that shows the iceberg where you only see the top and everything underneath it.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah. No, that's exactly it.
Like. You see that little bit that people want to show you on Instagram and all that stuff. But, if it's on the internet, it's not real. That's your first advice, right?
I don't even know where to go with that sometimes.
But. So, you got to watch what you put on there because people get jealous of you and they don't really understand what it really takes to do it.
So let's just jump into the work ethic thing, right? Because I get all the time, people are like, oh my God, you have amazing work ethic. You know my background. My dad, from a young age, everything was work hard, work hard, work hard. How do you get ahead in life? You work hard, you work hard, you work hard. But what I've learned kind of later in life is it's not only the work ethic of what you're doing at work, it's also the work ethic of what you do to work on yourself, to work on recharging your battery, to work on, becoming the vision that you see yourself being in 5, 10, 15 years. And if you're not working on that and you're only working on work, I mean, how the hell are you going to get there?
You're not getting anywhere.
And I've always admired. I mean, it's like unbelievable how you've been able to almost master that because you are a work hard as a mofo type of guy, but you also are a play hard guy.
I got a lot of energy and I always have ideas. So I always have ideas. I always want to put the ideas forward, and I'm always trying to work on something. I started my first company, Evident Title Agency. Well, there was another title agency before it that I started when I was 23 years old. And I moved from that agency that I had 2 partners with and started my own in 2005. And that's been Evident Title Agency, and that's what's been running from 2005 now. So
real quick, because we get feedback from from other podcasts that we do, and one of the feedback was about professions. Not everybody knows what professions are. So give us a little background on what is title insurance, what is the title industry, what is it that your company does?
So I own a title insurance agency. We do business in New Jersey and New York. Title insurance is a one-time insurance when you were purchasing probably the biggest thing you're ever going to buy, right? Your house. So people don't really think about it when you're looking for a house. Your realtor's taking you around. There's an open house. You like the house. You put a contract together. You put an offer in. Offer gets accepted, and you're buying the house. Well, that's great, but how do you know the person that is selling you the house owns it? And you could say, well, how would that happen? Well, there could be a renter that is pretending to be the owner and selling it. There could be different things on how the property got conveyed from one person to the other. And if one person was left out, for instance, say there was 3 children, parents had 3 children. One moved to California. They never talked to that person. The other 2 lived here. Mom and dad pass away. They sell that house. The 2 siblings never tell the 3rd sibling about it. 3rd sibling comes back, goes to mom and dad's house and sees somebody else is living there, knocks on the door and says, that's my house, get out of it. What do? Right? You call your title insurance agency and you put a claim in because somebody is claiming an interest to the property that we're insuring. Not only do you own free and clear, but any prior liens that were on a property, somebody's mortgage, prior taxes, any judgments if anybody had on them. We make sure all that gets paid off. So
Like usage agreements also.
Use agreements.
So people get screwed because things were lost sometimes decades prior.
Correct.
And if it happens in between ownership, that's just a way of you protecting the purchase that you're
correct. And one of the big things that's actually happening now is fraud's everywhere right now. We have wire fraud, we have property fraud is really happening now. What's happening?
Dude, I watched one of the worst, best movies, The Beekeeper. Speaking of fraud, did you see that?
No.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Really?
Digital fraud. I mean, I'm just,
Yeah.
But go ahead. Anyway, you were just saying.
Yeah, no, so what people are doing is they're calling a realtor saying they own property somewhere. It's always a vacant lot. People have fake IDs, everything made. The realtor lists the property. You would go to buy it to find out later the person that that sold it to you and you paid was never really the owner, and you don't really own the property. That's actually happening quite a bit right now. So when we see a contract coming in for vacant land, it's a huge red flag right off the bat. We actually had 2 instances this year that we had fake sellers.
Really?
Yep. So it started a lot more in the South and Midwest states, and now we're seeing that coming from here. It's always, the red flags are the realtor never met the seller. The person lives out of the country. We at Evident Title, I have a background in technology as well, so I'm huge on technology, always on the forefront of fighting fraud. We have a whole bunch of things in place. We have a thing called Closing Lock. It's a portal that secures the wire instructions coming in and out, so they can't be stolen, changed, and then resent. We have ways of verifying your identity, just like if you ever signed up for Clear, or there's a couple of them that'll ask questions that only you would know. Did you ever live at these addresses? Did you do that? So then we could actually make sure that the identity of the person on the other side is truly who they are. So there's been a lot of advances in technology, and we're on top of it. We are absolutely on top of that.
So you had 2 partners.
So I had 2 partners back then. Yep. And I had 2 partners and then realized I could really do this by myself. One thing I learned is I'm very good at working with a team of people, but at the same time, I really like my own ideas and I like to go forward with what I want to do. One of the most frustrating things in business is, you want to hear other people's opinions. You want to, take their advice. But if you're working for somebody and somebody wants to do something one way, to me, it's super frustrating knowing that I know a better way of doing it. So for me, I definitely have to be my own business owner.
Well, it's that mastermind group mentality. Like, give me some really good ideas or challenge my ideas, but at the end of the day, I want to be the one pulling the trigger.
I want to be the one pulling the trigger.
Yeah.
For sure, I have to do it my way. And I've learned that. I've learned that in a couple other businesses I've got involved with, whether it was like a franchise type of business or just a business with other partners, that I really work best when I'm in control.
You take over the business. Evident Title comes to fruition.
Correct. So Evident Title, great. It was me and one other person. Now we have 23 employees. Like you said, we got 5 offices in 2 states. I'm one of the largest remitters in New Jersey.
So how'd you go from 1 to 2 to 25 and 7 offices?
It was being consistent. We are in a very, very unstable business, to say the least, with real estate. Going back from all the way when I started, what started in 2003 when I started, it was the refinance boom. Everybody was refinance. And then 2008 hit and it crashed. So that happened. Then 2012 happened, 2014 happened, and there's just ebbs and flows. And then 2020 happened and everybody thought they were going to be out of business, and it was record-breaking year after record-breaking year. What I've realized in the ebbs and flows in an industry like this is you have to do you. Stay steady, put one foot in front of the other, keep being consistent with what you're doing, and everything will fall into place. You're going to have ups, you're going to have downs. You have to be adaptable. You have to be able to change, but you also have to have consistency. You can't go, scared money doesn't make money. So what I see in this industry is when it gets really busy, everybody and their mother opens a title agency. It's a money grab. They're here for 2-3 years and then they're gone. And the problem with that, it does a very big disservice to the clients, because if there was a claim, if there is something in 10 years when they go to sell the house, that agency doesn't exist anymore. So it's really important when you are buying a house, when you are refinancing, that the company you're using has been around for a while and will be around for a while. So that's super important. And my growth has been really sticking to my game plan, doing what I'm doing, and sort of staying in my own lane.
What was the turning point for you when you started to realize I can scale this? What was going on in your life when you made your biggest jumps and your biggest leaps? What do you attribute that to?
The biggest jumps, I would say, as the business started to grow, was building the right team around you, right? As much as I have to sort of have the final call and last say, I would say, you can't get anywhere without a team. I know that. I've watched you grow with this team here with all these amazing people, and it's the same for me. I was just talking to my vice president of operations last night, coming across that Danielle, she's been working with me it'll be 15 years next week. And I was like, oh my God. I said, somebody should throw you a parade.
Yeah, right?
Not even a trophy, a parade. You've been here for 15 years. People like that, my vice president, John Bucci, it just, as it grows, if you could just surround yourself by the right people, that's how you could grow, because there's only so much of you and there's only so much that you can do, that your biggest growth has to be taking a step back and allowing other people to help you.
So it's funny you say that, because I remember the moment when you were getting some real traction and you were in Cedar Grove, you had that office, your sister was there, Espo was there, Danielle.
Yep.
And I had said to you, we were talking about business, and I had said to you, I just need to find my Espo. Mm-hmm. And you were like, yeah, you do.
Yeah, you do.
And income Stacia.
I know.
So it was,
It's this whole Cedar Grove thing. There's something in the water there.
There is something in the water over in Cedar Grove, New Jersey.
But that's what it takes. It really takes somebody that you could trust, somebody that you could rely on, so that you could remove yourself from that situation to allow yourself to grow. And growth is taking chances. Growth is getting out of your comfort zone. If you stay in your comfort zone, you're never going to get anywhere. I say that to almost years ago, the old wave runners that you used to have in jet skis. When you used to fall off them, they didn't just stop like they do now. They would just turn in a circle,
circles.
and they would just go in a circle. And that could happen in life very quickly. You find yourself that you're just on that hamster wheel. You're running, like you said, you're working every day. You're working. And then, well, how am I going to take care of myself? You need time for yourself. And that was a point that you came with. You have to have a balance in life and play. When I was younger, I definitely played hard, but I worked harder when I was younger. When I started my own company in my early 20s, a lot of people were going out clubbing. I did. I went out, don't get me wrong. But there was a lot of sacrifice on stresses I was taking over at a young age, responsibilities I was taking at a young age. I'm really starting, what would I say? So now that I'm in my mid-40s, I'm really starting to take advantage of all the work that I did when I was younger. And now that I have such a great team and can rely on so many great people, I can go to all my kids' games.
Yeah.
I don't miss a single thing. And that's really important to me right now. I'm starting to see the payoff from working really hard younger to now having more time. So now I work hard and I play harder.
Well, if you just think about some of the younger people that are coming into industry, whether it's finance or real estate, they don't want to work that hard. Typically,
No,
that's the
They
stereotype,
don't.
right?
And what I'm seeing with younger kids, not to cut you off, is if I'm not getting paid for it, they don't want to do it. And all the things that you get later in life, I truly believe what you throw out into the universe is going to come back to you. So doing people favors, going above and beyond, not thinking about what is in it for me, just throw it out there, do the right job, and it will come back with you. I always look at it this way. I'm not concerned about today's money. I'm concerned about tomorrow's money. So what I do today is going to make tomorrow's money. So I'm not as focused as I was focused on today 6 months ago.
Yeah.
And setting today up 6 months ago. Now I'm going forward. And you got to take chances.
But that's the difference in your mindset from when you're in your mid 40s to go back 20 years when you're in your mid 20s. And just, if you know, let's just build on what you had said earlier. You put a ton of hours in early. It takes 10,000 hours, they say, to become an expert, right? So if you think about how many hours you put in on a week, on a year, over the first decade, you've built up the experience that now you have the ability to look 6 months and be able to forecast your business.
Absolutely.
You have the experience to make the bigger decisions and know what the trickle-down impact is going to look like because you've been there, you've done that, you've seen that. And I think that's where a lot of the younger kids, they miss the long-term vision of you put the hours in, not to put the hours in, but to get the experience so that this way, as life goes on, you can dial back.
Correct.
Because it's not that, oh, I'm older, I'm going to dial back. It's, no, I don't need to work as hard because I've done this so many times. I've been through so many iterations of this that I can make my decisions faster. I know what to expect. I know what to do. I know how to handle it.
And that's true. That's what comes with experience. You know, we obviously had a big downturn in the real estate industry. And I was once again 6-8 months ahead of everybody looking to, okay, where's the size of my company? Is this sustainable? Where are we going to be next year? Where are we going to be in 24 months, 36 months? So what I'm starting to learn is we, as my team at Evident Title, when we start doing everything, we're almost the trendsetters. We start to see when we do something 6-8 months later, everybody else starts doing it. And which is great because now we're in the growth pattern again. Even though we had to downsize a little bit, we're now in complete growth pattern again. While other people are still downsizing. So
interesting enough, you said you got into this industry right before the
2008.
The 08-09 debacle, right? The Great Recession. So you're in this business. I'm sure you learned a lot that you didn't repeat in the future downturns of the market. What are some of the things that you can remember being notable moments when the proverbial shit kind of felt like it was hitting the fan? You didn't know what to do. You sleepless nights, anxiety. What was going on? How did you overcome it? What did you learn from that?
Well, you have to realize that you have the power to make change. So you're never stuck in a situation. You could always do something. There is always a solution to everything. I truly believe that. If you have the right minds and you could sit down and talk it out, there is a solution. Mm-hmm. And that's my business on how, that's just my philosophy on business in general. Sit down, have a conversation. If we were to do something together, does this work for Bobby? Does this work for Mike? Does it work equally? And if it does, let's move on to the next conversation. So I've learned a lot of things like that in the past. I've also learned to make my business scalable because our industry has these ebbs and flows. You have to be able to grow quickly, and you also have to be able to reduce size when you need to, so the company can last. So that's one thing that I've learned, and I learned to put key roles into place, build up support staff, and then you could go up and down as you need to adjust to the market.
Are there any guiding principles or platforms that you prescribe to? Like if you're talking to somebody who's a business owner and they're going through the similar things you were going to early on in your career, are there any certain things that you can mark back at or point back at to say, hey, read this, do this, follow this?
So I would say one of the biggest things with that is take chances. Take chances. When you're young, you're gambling on yourself, right? If you're a gambler and you bet on the Purdue UConn game last night, you're betting on people that you have no control over. Who's better to bet on than yourself that you have full control over? So as fun it is to throw money on a game, to watch a game, it's really fun to bet on yourself. And as life gets older, life gets much more complicated. Wife, kids, family, parents, it gets multi-generational, it gets exponentially harder. And the more you get into your life, the harder it is to take those risks. So taking those risks when you're younger can really pay off later. And I was able to take risks at the beginning when there was the downturns in the markets that I knew what worked and what didn't work. So now when it came to this downturn, I knew exactly what I needed to do. It wasn't scary because I lived in it.
Well, there's also the difference of you start playing with house money a little bit as you get older, because you start to build up your coffers, you start to build up your net worth, you start to build up your reserves, and now you're saying, okay, there's a certain acceptable risk that I'm going to take that's not going to put me in a position where my business is going to have to close the doors, or I'm going to be taking steps or strides backward.
Correct. It definitely, when I was younger, you're just sort of guessing. You're taking risks. You're doing things to set yourself up. Now it's very calculated risks. You're right. You're playing with house money. It's fun. You get to try a few things. You get to try different businesses. Some are going to work, some aren't, and that's the whole point. You just keep learning. If you start a business and it doesn't work out, it doesn't mean the business failed, because you learned so much of it. And that's what's huge, is constantly trying new things, constantly not being afraid to lose or to not win at that situation, because that may just be a chapter in the entire novel.
You go beyond the title industry, beyond the 7 offices. You have other businesses. Talk a little bit about your philosophy or your mindset and how you went from title to, and I'm going to let you fill in the blanks.
So I'm going to just go back to what you said earlier. When we were younger, we learned to work. My dad owned a construction company, so ever since I could pick up a broom, I was sweeping. My friends were playing in the summer. I was at the construction job, whether I was picking up shingles off the ground, sweeping at a young age, to finally framing, doing electrical, and doing all that fun stuff. And what I learned between that and, I got to say, one of the best sports to do was wrestling in high school. Those are really tough situations. When you're at the end of a third period and there's 30 seconds left in a wrestling match and it's all you to do, that's hard. That's in a really hard situation. When you're working on a roof in the summer and it's 110 degrees on top of that roof, that's hard. When I'm sitting at my desk and the phone's ringing and I got to deal with a situation, yes, that's mentally hard, but I go back to what it was like, physical work, and I'm like, this isn't that hard. Get a grasp, figure it out, and if you feel overwhelmed, it's always, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Mm-hmm. So if you feel overwhelmed, just chew away at it. Solve a small problem. How do you solve a big problem? A bunch of little solves. I've learned that, and because of that type of work ethic, I feel like nothing's all that hard. So once I had Evident Title finally set up and running how it goes, with fantastic people helping me run it, started venturing out into a few other things. A couple software companies. We have a bioengineering company.
So the software companies, how are they working out for you?
So software companies are good. There's 2 software companies that I am invested in right now. One is a title software company. We do majority of the closings from the Mississippi East in that company. That company has been growing leaps and bounds in the past 3-4 years. It's called AccuTitle. That company is going really, really well.
Did you come with the idea, build it? Did you fund the idea because it was a great idea that came across your desk? How active are you in that?
So the CEO of that company, I did a lot of work with him, and he moved over from the title agency side to the software side. And him and I were going back and forth a lot of that. I was giving him a lot of advice. He is a great mentor to me. He gives me a lot of advice as well. And it was something to get invested in, because not only can I invest in it, but I could also add to it, which was really nice.
It's in your wheelhouse.
It's in my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
So that was great. The second company is vipHomeLink. With Alfred, I know he was on the show too.
Yeah.
Great guy. I'm really excited for that software. Once again, that is an app that helps you manage your house. It helps you keep up with your properties. It's a really, really great thing.
Fits into your
into the wheelhouse.
Into your wheelhouse. Yep.
So a lot of the things that I was doing had a synergy. It had something into the wheelhouse. So now it's like, okay, how do you diversify yourself? How do you do something that if the real estate market completely crashes and it has nothing, how do you make money, had different streams of revenue other places? One thing that we got into was randomly health and beauty. So we got into a franchise. and we opened a hair salon. And the crazy part is everybody came up to me and they said, Mike, what the hell do you know about a hair salon? I'm like, I don't know anything about a hair salon. I know how to run a business, and I'm a people person. So when I was thinking about doing this, and it's like, okay, this could be another revenue stream that has nothing to do with title, has nothing to do with real estate. My whole thing is, how do I tie these two things together? How do I make a hair salon make money for my title agency? And we're talking two different ends of the spectrum.
Oh, yeah.
But there is a synergy in between them, and that's customer service. Our title agency, we have to deal with people that have joint ventures, meaning a real estate company has a partnership with the title agency, so they're directing the work and they're getting paid for that. So there's a lot of things that I have to go against in the title industry that I would say that there's equal parts to it when you're going to get a client. So we have to charge the same prices, and we have to go against people that have a joint venture that are getting paid to give the work. So we have to strive on customer service. Customer service, customer service, customer service. That also goes with a hair salon. It's a customer service business. You're going there, the men and women go sit down, they want to feel good, you want to make them feel great. And I'm like, well, what if I could get title clients to be going to the salon and we can make them feel great in more than one place? And that's what we started doing. We started introducing our title clients into our salon and showing that, hey, you have great service here.
Cross-marketing. Yeah.
And it is great. It's definitely out of the box. Clients absolutely love it. And it's a great thing for me to do. It just so different. We have, when it comes to title insurance, it's stressful. People are buying their biggest asset ever. They probably have buyer's remorse as of right now because they're way overpaying for the houses. It's above asking.
Yeah, they're negotiating.
They're nervous,
They've
right?
got shit wrong with they have foreseen expenses that they know they're going to have to put into it, that they're worried about being able to foot the bill on. It's never ending.
Never ending, right? And then they got to physically move. You got to pack up all your stuff. You're displaced, You're trying to get in. You're hoping your house sells today, so you have the money to buy the house you're buying this afternoon. So there's a lot. There's a lot of stressors, and a lot of people aren't good with stress, especially when it's outside of their wheelhouse and they're not used to it. So the day of the closing, when people come, they are stressed out. They haven't slept the night before, or they slept on an aero bed because everything's in the moving truck. They're all sometimes disheveled. So it's a real tense situation when they come to the closing. We like to put on a production and make them realize, hey, this is the biggest purchase of your life. There's only a small percentage of people in the world that can own property. This is one of your rights as an American citizen. So we try to show them, today is a great day. Like, let's get excited about today. The day before on the phone, my paralegals are talking with people that are stressed out. Sometimes people aren't as polite, and that's fine. We get that. In the salon, it's completely different. People are coming just to feel good. And it's such a different vibe where the day before a closing, you can cut the tension with a knife. At a salon, people are just coming and cheery and smiling and leaving. We do these things called a transformation change at the salon. That somebody comes in, we'll do their hair, we'll do their makeup, we do a full transformation, and they don't see themselves. And at the end, we spin them around and they have a reveal of the new person that they are. And they start crying. And it is just, these people are so in love with how they look. And it is nothing better than if it's somebody that's having a rough time or, going through some problems in life, family issues, and to come in and you see them come in and you see them leave with this glow. And it's so different from what I deal with on the title side that it's great. It's such a light-hearted industry compared to how heavy.
Well, you are a very social person. You are very good with people, and I can only imagine that it gets wearing having to deal through these different transactions, and to have something like that has got to feel a little rewarding.
It's very rewarding. So when I was younger, I also worked at a restaurant. So once again, on these tough businesses and on your feet and being in the weeds when you're a waiter and you have to, got 5 different tables ready and you're throwing food and you're running around. I equate a lot of businesses to a restaurant. There's a front of the house and there's a back of the house, and you need both. You have your waiter, who's the bubbly person that is taking your order, making sure everything is great. They're the fluffers. They're making sure everything's nice. Then you have your chef in the back. I don't really care how he interacts with the people out front. I want to make sure him or her food is amazing, right? You want to make sure the products that are coming out are fantastic. So that's the same with most businesses, right? You need a front guy. You need somebody that's going to be doing your sales. You need the face of the company. You need somebody that's going to constantly be talking.
It almost should be a prerequisite that before you think about opening up a business, you should go work at a restaurant.
100%. 100%, because
an
you need that
informal
back.
prerequisite.
You need your ops, right? Because if I have salespeople out there, right, and the salespeople are going, they're in front of their clients, right? It's their face. They're putting their reputation on the line. So you need those people to go out there and do that. But they're selling something. Call it a widget. Doesn't matter. Whatever they're selling, that has to be made right. If that's not being done correctly, that person now looks terrible.
Right. And they're the one who has to own it because they're the face at that moment.
Correct. And they're your revenue stream. So if your operations are putting out a shitty product, which is going to piss off your salespeople, and your salespeople leave, you have no business.
Yeah.
And
nobody cares that you're backed up. Nobody
and if you
cares
have great
that
operations and terrible salespeople and no business to go to the operations, you have nothing for these people to do. So it is extremely, extremely important to have both aspects in a business. Now, there are people that are talented that can do both sides, but I feel like it's a left brain, right brain sort of thing. And there's some people that are better at operations, and then there's other people that are better at sales and being a front person. There's some that could do a hybrid, but what I've noticed is the ones that are really good at operations aren't good at sales. And the ones that are really good at sales would never be able to sit still at a desk all day. You know, if you were better at the one aspect, you find the people that could fill in the gaps that you have. So if your talent is more on selling, find the people that are running good operation for you. If you're really good at running your operation, find some really great salespeople to be the face of your organization.
Yeah, you have to leverage what you do really well and then hire for the things that either you don't like to do or you know that somebody else can do it better.
And that segues back into starting early, right? When you start the business early, when you start young, you got to do everything, right? There is no person to call and delegate something to that you don't like to do. You got to do everything. You have to do everything. And
well, there probably is, but you may not have the cash flow at that moment.
You don't have the resources to do that, right? You don't have the cash flow. You don't have the time. You just have to do it. And the nice thing about getting older and growing a business is you could start defining the things that you are good at and tweak those skills and concentrate on those skill sets. And the other things, find the people that are better at you, better at it than you are doing.
Yeah, I mean, we spoke about house money a little bit, and it's almost to that point where when you start to really accumulate the house money, that the building up the coffers, the extra free cash flow, do you put it in your pocket or do you put it back in your business? And I think where most people look at it, they go, well, I'd rather take that 100,000 and put it in my pocket. And the reality is the 100,000, if you're in a high tax bracket, turns into 50,000 by the time it gets into your pocket. But that 100,000, if you keep it in the business and you use it for expenses to grow it, acts like 100,000.
Absolutely.
And you have that mindset of, I want more money in my life, I want more money in my pocket, but really it's being able to withhold from doing those things early on, reinvesting in your business, so that this way, when you're pulling out the money, you already know you've got the business built for growth. It's built to take on some of the volatility in the markets if you're in a volatile marketplace. And I mean, how have you used that mindset in your own business?
Absolutely. If you're not reinvesting in yourself, who is, right? So whether it's education, learning new things, you got to invest in yourself. You also have to spend money to make money.
Education is a big one too, yeah.
Education's a huge thing, but you have to be able to spend money. If you have somebody that starts a company and is watching every penny, watching the bottom line, you're probably not going to succeed. I watch the top line. If business is slow, I don't really look at how can I save money? How can I go out and get more money? Mm-hmm. How can I go bring more money into the company? Because if you could bring more money in at the top, everything
fixes itself.
So whether you're reinvesting your own money into the business, reinvesting your time to go get more clients, expand your footprint, that is huge. That helps. And there is a big difference, and you know it. If you walk into a restaurant, you walk into a store, you could tell the people that spend the money and invest in themselves, right? You could tell if a place looks clean. You could tell if they're using the most current technology or the newest fixtures, the newest looks, the newest designs. You could tell the people that are reinvesting into themselves. And that is projected onto your clients. That is projected. And I like everything perfect. I like it to a T. I like it top notch. I don't like cutting corners. I don't like anything that isn't done to the best of its ability. Sometimes that takes money to reinvest it. And whether that's, hey, I know I can't afford this employee right now, but I'm knowing what I did to bring more money in, I'm going to need this employee. So then it's, hey, let me invest in this employee now because I already planted the seeds. The seeds are going to grow, the money's going to come in, and I'm going to be able to reimburse myself from that investment. So that's one of the huge things, is being able to have the money to invest in the right people, invest in the right technology, be able to keep up through education with the newest trends that are happening, the newest vulnerabilities that are happening, and being able to purchase the software and the people that will stop those horrible things from happening when it comes to fraud in our industry.
We see it all the time, right? I mean, everybody has their own methodologies on how they want to run a business, how they deal with growing a business. You know, more often than not, you get the more quantitative person, you get the more person who is focused on the operation side. Mm-hmm. The first thing they do is slashing.
Yes.
Right? Where do we slash costs? Where do we cut back? How do we get that bottom line a little bit meatier, a little bit juicier? You talk to people like us, it's how do we grow the business?
How do we grow the business?
And I think that, to your point, yeah, we need to reinvest. You need to have those things in place as you grow. You also have to keep an eye on what you're doing operationally, because you just don't want to throw money out the window. You want to be smart about where you're deploying it. But that goes back to that team mentality, that balancing out of like having the right people in the organization, vetting out the right people that you can trust, that you know that are going to be there, because it doesn't matter how capable they are. If you can't trust them, forget it.
Forget it. There's no point.
I was watching, we shoot across Instagram bullshit all the time, right? And there was one that was talking about the Navy SEALs. Mm-hmm. And they did a seminar with the Navy SEALs, and they were talking about XY axis of trust and performance. Mm-hmm. And the Navy SEALs will take a moderate performance high trust over a high performance low trust any day of the week.
Absolutely.
And if you think about guys who are going into battle and they need the guy behind them, the guy at their six watching their back,
and really being there.
You want somebody who's going to be a really good freaking shot, but you also want somebody that you know is you
going to take the shot and not shoot you.
So it's a balancing act, man, and it's an art. It's an art and a science.
It's an art. It's a science, and it's a tough thing, because going into saying you have to be able to delegate. You can't grow if you're going to be doing everything, and if you're delegating something to somebody, you have to be able to trust that they're going to follow through with it. So somebody could have, like you said, the skill set to do it, but if they don't follow through, if you don't have the trust in them, the skill set's worthless. You got to make sure it's somebody that, hey, I could trust you with this because your output is going to be directly affect me in whoever I'm promising this to.
Well, and if you think about the guys and gals that are starting businesses, right? You said it before. You're wearing multiple hats. You're doing everything. There's no outsourcing because you don't have the funds. You don't have the resources. Now, all of a sudden, you're the be-all, end-all, and you start to develop this it's mine mentality. Mm-hmm. And then you have to give things away, and it's like, no, that's mine. And that control really is a hard thing to break for most people.
And that's a definition of growth, because you're getting out of your comfort zone.
You got to get out.
It's very difficult. And another thing, which I'm going to give Green Ridge a nice plug here.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, man.
You know I steal most of my shit from you, right?
Well, I'm getting all yours too. It goes back and forth. So one thing I have to say is, when you are younger and you're starting a business, you're focusing on a business. You're focusing on growing a company. What you don't realize is that you're growing not just a company, but you're also growing a self-company. That as you get older and you have more assets, you have more income, you have more responsibilities, you have to build a personal team around your personal things as well. So, for instance, anything that I know I could pay somebody to do better than me, I'd rather do that because it's not costing me money, it's saving me money that way. For instance, having you guys in charge of all my finances, it is fantastic because you guys are on it all the time. I know Stacia, you guys are always Jordan, you guys are always looking at it, adjusting it, stuff that I can't do. So you got to be able to trust that person, right? And it's not only, I'm giving Bobby Mashia my money, but it's not you. It's your whole group that has to be trustful. And you have to be able to trust everybody in your group because I'm giving you my money to invest. So,
well, because the trust is with the two of us.
Correct.
I mean, granted, you have now relationships with a lot of people and you have prior relationships with some of the people on the team.
Correct.
It's the trust is here. And you kind of say, well, if Bobby trusts them, they must be trustworthy.
Correct.
And then if we can't trust somebody on our team and you see that there's a break in trust, you look at it as there's a break in trust between you and I, and then it disrupts. And I'm not saying you particular, but I'm saying in general, just the relationship of, and then that breaks the trust of your client.
Exactly, and that's what I deal with a lot too. You know, with my clients and business, there's always something that happens. Sometimes there's a mistake. There's a lot of moving parts in a real estate transaction, and I always say, hey guys, you're human. People will make mistakes. People don't remember the mistakes. They remember how they were addressed and how you dealt with them. And that is everything. Because if somebody says they don't make mistakes, they're lying, move right on.
Yeah.
A person, you already can't trust them.
Own it.
Own it. Own it. I make mistakes. We all make mistakes. And I'm going to make a lot more as I go on because that's how you learn. That's how you grow.
So, Mikey, one of the things that, you know, I'm going to go back to the beginning of the conversation around the work ethic and your ability to work hard, your ability to play hard. And I think that, you know, we've all been through the situation where there's always going to be a hater. Right?
Always a hater.
You want to build the haters because that means you're doing something right. How do you manage, though, to make sure that your team always looks at you as the leader that is here and putting in, whether it's the IP, the time, the whatever, so that they don't feel like, oh, he's on vacation again. Oh, he's doing his own thing. Oh, he's going down the shore. How do you manage that?
So nobody works for me. Everybody works with me. That's the first thing, right? I have to work with them. They have to work with me. What do they need from an owner and a boss? They need support, and they need to know they have that support. So they need to know that if there's an issue, there's something they need to talk to me about, I'm available. Whether I am on vacation, whether I am somewhere out of town doing something else, they know if they call me, I can get in touch with them and help them. Their support. They don't feel like they're just on an island nowhere. Traveling and doing that, it's one of the things I love to do. And when I was younger, the cell phone was on me. I'd be on vacation, but I worked the whole time.
Yeah.
Now I got more than one line. I could turn a line off because I have such a competent staff. I have so many competent people that really, if you want an answer for something, you're better off calling them. I'm not in front of a computer. I'm doing things like this. I'm growing the business.
Yeah.
I'm not working on that end. Obviously, anybody needs something, they call me directly and I get it taken care of. But that's one of the biggest things. You have to show your employees that you're part of the team. Going back to construction work and sweeping and doing all that stuff, I remember I was interviewing somebody a couple of years ago and we were talking about, I'm no better than anybody. I will take the garbage out. And I do. I'll take the garbage out. The other day I was under one of my sinks tightening a thing in a dress shirt underneath the sink, tightening the faucet. And
there's no job too
no job
little.
No
or
job too
menial.
little. Nobody's better than anybody. Nobody's lesser than anybody. And I had a person, I was interviewing her, and she's like, I said, yeah, everybody would do everything here. And I was going into that. And she's like, oh, well, I would never take the garbage out. And I said, well, this interview's over. She's like, why? I said, just before this interview, I took the garbage out. So I have no use for you here. And that's where the mentality of doing something for me, or just, there's no thought. This isn't in my job description. It's what has to be done for the company. What has to be done for what's ever around me for the situation. I am approachable. I am available. And I truly want to support my people.
So I find, because I'm going through, like I said, we've been running kind of a little off balance and not really so parallel, because you had started your business way before I had.
Yes.
And we're starting to build a little bit of a hierarchy here. And in terms of, all right, well, if you have issues, you go to them, they'll come to me. So now I'm starting to try to get out of that day to day, because it's the menial stuff that happens in the operations of the business that if I get bogged down with that, to your point, there's no growth.
You can't go anywhere.
So the more frequent meetings that I have with my upper management team or my partner, the better support I feel like I can give them, because a lot of times I feel like the employees or the people that I work with, my partners, they really just want to know that there's a conversation. They can say what they need to say, talk about their problems, and they have somebody who's on their side. Do you do a lot of those meetings, or do you just see like in the moment type of opportunities? Where do you kind of hang your hat on that?
So it's a mix of both. As the company grew really large in 20 and 21, I really had to stick to that hierarchy, because I couldn't answer everybody's phone calls. I couldn't answer everybody's questions, because I would literally get nothing done. So once the hierarchy gets formed, there's a training process. The people that have always asked you for something are still going to call you. And what you need to do is direct them to the person that is now in charge of that.
Yeah.
And the more you do that, the less that's going to come to you, and people understand who that they need to go to. Because a lot of those things don't need Bobby's time. They could, maybe it's something Stacia could deal with, something Danielle could deal with. That's not what can only Bobby do.
And people get so used to it that they yearn for it.
Correct.
And you have to train them for that disconnect.
You have to train them. And that's people reaching out to me a lot. If it's a client reaching out about a file, it's like, you can call me right now on it at 11:30. I'm probably not going to get back to you till 2:30 today. But if you call the office, Danielle's there, and you're going to get an answer
10
in
minutes.
10 done.
10 seconds
It's
in
done.
your inbox in 10
so
minutes.
they start realizing that, and it's like, well, I'm not going to bother Mike because I need to get this done now. I'm going to call the office. So that's a lot. You want to always be present, but not always available. Because if you're available for everybody else, you're never available for yourself.
What do you think the biggest thing that you've learned? You know, I always say that every experience, every failure, every missed opportunity or lost opportunity always results in a learning opportunity.
Absolutely.
Right? So you either look at it one way where you say, if I get faced with that again, how do I address it or approach it? Or how do I turn this from a negative to a positive? What are some of the notable things that have happened in your life where you feel like you maybe had to really turn that mindset around, and you've really found a gem, a diamond in the rough on?
Every situation I feel like that was not a success. I don't want to call it a failure, because a failure would be something that nothing good came out of.
Yeah.
It's a learning experience, right? How much does college cost now? I don't even know how much college costs. $100,000 a year, $70,000 a year.
It'll be there soon
some of
enough.
these, right? So you go to college for 4 years and spend $300 and something thousand on college. Did you waste that $350,000, or did you invest that into yourself?
It's an investment.
It's an investment, right? So that's the same thing with a business situation. Whether you're doing something and it costs you money, it didn't cost you. You invested that in yourself, because it took that experience to now learn how to better yourself, what to do right, what not to do again. And understanding that that experience has made you better is understanding that it wasn't a failed risk. It was a risk that is probably going to help you later on. I always say that you can't read to chapter 3 in a book and say, this book sucks, right? You got to read it to the end, because you could be investing in a stock. The stock dumps, right? We just had a recent one.
Yep.
It dumped. But that's because we're looking at it in this point in time. If we look over it in the future, we may look back and say, hey, that was one of the best things I ever did. When I looked at it 3 months later, it was a really bad idea, but I didn't let it grow. I didn't let it get there. So I've had situations that have cost me lots and lots of money, but I'm able to take everything I've learned from those situations and apply them into the future, that now looking back, I didn't lose any money on those situations. They helped me grow.
Well, I think people discount that. They discount the experience that they go through, because in the moment, they don't feel like they've learned anything.
Correct.
And what they've learned doesn't often come to light until they're faced with a similar situation. And then they have to make a judgment call, and they realize, I'm going to make this call because of what happened at that moment.
Exactly. I mean, I believe everything happens for a reason.
Even
It's
kids,
true.
even kids that go to college, right? They go to college and they're like, I didn't go to school for this. You know what? Half the shit you learn in school anyway isn't going to be relevant for whatever job you're taking, regardless of what you studied and what you go for. It's really just, did you learn how to learn? Did you pick up the book? Did you go to the freaking library, or did you play on Instagram and go play Beirut and party and drink the whole time? And if you did party and drink, that's cool, but did you learn anything along the way? Did you learn how to build relationships? Did you learn how to nurture relationships? There's two different sides to that. It's being on your own, building yourself as a person, and building your ability to learn. And if you look at things as a waste, then you're missing the whole point.
Absolutely. And it's all learning. Every single day you're learning. Every single day you're making decisions. Every single day you're taking chances and risks. And the more risks you take, the better chance you're going to be as successful. I truly believe
love
that.
this.
I truly believe that. You got to take the risks. You got to take the risks. Going into, back to what you were saying before, who's the best person you can invest in? Yourself, right? Mm-hmm. So you want to be smart as you get older. You want to fill your different buckets. You want to have a fantastic financial team like you guys that are going to invest into my stocks. You're going to invest into bonds. You're going to invest into all these other things, right?
Tax planning, business planning.
So you want to do that. Then you want to take, when you have those buckets that are filled enough to you're comfortable, now you want to take that money and say, let me start investing in myself. Hey, it may not work the first few times, but let me keep investing. Let me keep investing. And even if the situation does not work, you're still learning for the ultimate situation, which may not even presented itself. Going back to saying things with college, I had a degree in computer engineering and computer graphic design. That's what I did. I do title insurance now.
Yeah.
Right? It has nothing to do with it. But if I learned just the computer stuff then, I think it was, I don't even know what Windows it was. It was just past Windows 95, but something that is completely obsolete right now. So you got to learn how to learn, not just learn the subject matter.
Was that like NT or something?
It may have been Windows NT Network. Yeah, Windows NT, I think it was maybe around then.
Well, even when you mention your advisors, your financial advisors, your tax advisors, your legal advisors, even when you pick the wrong advisor,
you
learn what not to do. When you pick the right advisor, you'll learn some of the tricks and trades that you necessarily wouldn't have employed prior. When you pick the right group of people to hang out with, you'll learn from their experiences and their mistakes and their wins and their failures and everything that they've gone through. When you're surrounding yourself with people who are doing exactly what you're doing or what you want to do, your learning curve is huge. But if you stay away and figure you could do it all on your own, your potential is only as far as what you individually can bring to yourself. And usually it's limited.
It's a ceiling. One of the best things from how I met you when we started West Essex Business Partnership, I don't even know how many years ago.
Long time ago.
A long time ago, right? That's when I realized as we were growing in business and growing in life itself, that you need to surround yourself with like-minded individuals, not only in business, but how can these people help you with your life, right? I met you through that. I met Donnie through that. I met Heather through that, who did my insurance.
Yep.
So I found the people, just in your life, what do you need? You need a good financial guy. You need a good tax guy. You need a good lawyer.
You find business coaches. You find
business
mentors.
coaches. You need a good insurance person. You need somebody that you could rely on that's taking care of you. And it's super important to put yourself out there. I joined that group because a buddy of mine, Jeff Matta, called and said, hey, we're joining a group. Do you want to try it? It's like, I don't know, but let me go and see what it's all about anyway. Taking that risk. That's not a risky thing, but it was still going and putting yourself in the situation that could turn into a growth. Opportunity is in situations. Put yourself in a lot of situations, and there's a lot more opportunity for growth.
All right, so let's kind of take two steps back. Let's look at the entirety of this conversation. If you were to extract out three great moments or three important things that we spoke about today that you want to reiterate to close this thing out, what would they be?
So the most important things would be invest in yourself. That's absolutely it. Invest in yourself. The second would be take risks. Take risks. Risks is how you're going to get rewards. And third, you could only do so much. You have to surround yourself with the best teams possible, whether it's a fantastic wife and children and parents and siblings, whether it is a great personal team, financial team, tax team, law team, all of that, or it is your operations team, whether it's the salon with stylists, you want to get the best ones in there, whether it's all my paralegals and attorneys and everybody that works at Everett Title, you want to have the best people in there. So you need to surround yourself with the best if you want to be the best.
I love that. I'm going to turn to the bullpen. Did I miss anything, guys?
No.
Everyone's content. That was a great, man. I really appreciate you and your time.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate
Where do we
it.
find you? Where does our audience find you if they want to learn more about Mike Carella?
Well, that's the secret. You don't know. So if you want
Dark web,
which I keep getting more. Everybody's stuff's being sold on that now. So if you want to learn more about me, the biggest place you could learn would be either through LinkedIn, Evident Title's website, evidenttitle.com. And more of my personal life would be through my personal Facebook and Instagrams, because I do show my personal life, because I'm a normal person just like anybody else, and that's super important. As you grow, money doesn't change you. It doesn't make you a better person. It doesn't make you a worse person. You got to always stay who you are and be proud of who you are.
Mikey's one of the best people I know, and it's a shame that we don't get a chance to spend as much time together because we're so goddamn busy trying to manage everything. But
I mean, we tried to get together a million. This year down the shore, we're hanging.
Yes, yes.
This year is
no more drive-bys. Like literally, I'm gonna dive off the dock and swim to your boat.
No, you can take your own boat out and meet me.
Well, I could do that too. But thank you, man. I appreciate you.
Bobby,
Episode 8. It's a wrap. Business Unchained.
Thank you.